A big shout out to all you theater teachers and students at DramaCon 2021. I'm Pollyanna, a theater education student at BYU and your instructor for when The Show Must Go On Online. Act 1 Production Tips and Tricks. This is a 2-act tutorial on live streaming live theater. I hope you enjoy this half of the show. And when you're done viewing, be sure to check out the other half of this program, Act 2 Performance Tips and Tricks. Why online? Well, for one, it's fun. And even if your whole school or theater doesn't face a shutdown, your actors could be unexpectedly quarantined during rehearsals or performances. But as theater teachers and performers, we meet these issues with our typical rally cry, the show must go on. Yet have you ever wondered if live streaming your K through 12th grade production over video chat would look something like this? Okay, you be right back.
I want to ride over the rainbow.
Come along with us. Vamonos.
This tutorial will show you ways to turn your live video chat into this, all with free software available online.
Welcome to our world.
Welcome to our world.
Bienvenido. I wanna ride over the rainbow.
Each of a bubble to ride over the rainbow.
We will ride over the rainbow.
Adios, amigos.
Adios, adios.
Experimental or fantasy not on your agenda? We'll also address good lighting, sound, and scenic design tips so you can master the art of realism online. I've gathered over 30 teachers and performers from Arizona to Washington and from Kentucky to Japan to share and demonstrate ideas on how to enhance your production value as you live stream. In this tutorial, we'll be sharing examples from an online video chat platform such as Zoom, often enhanced with free streaming software such as OBS for video and QLab for sound. But many of the tips and tricks we'll share with you are also helpful across your favorite software application and school-enforced online platform. This class is engineered for teachers and students, whether you're on the design team or you're a performer doing your own tech work from your Zoom room. For this tutorial, I'll share my favorite tips on camera angles and scenic design with stage manager and director Melissa Longhurst, lighting lessons with lighting designer Emma Hansen, sound solutions with sound designer Zach Bright, and streaming software with my husband Pat Eiler. Take 2, give 2. For this tutorial, I challenge you to take 2. Find at least 2 new ideas and try them out. They may be something you see or hear, or something altogether new inspired by your experiences at DramaCon 2021. Then give 2. Share 2 ideas with another theater teacher or student. I'd love to hear back from you on my website, Pollyanna.works, with any questions or suggestions. This website is also where you'll find ideas and URLs mentioned in this tutorial, and even more tips and tricks than we had time to include. So whether these ideas help you in your first foray into live streaming live theater online, or your next, here are some ideas for when the show must go on online. Act 1, Production Tips and Tricks. And now for some tips and tricks from stage manager and director Melissa Longhurst. She has the angle on camera angles and how to create scenic scenery while live streaming live theater.
Hello, UTA 2021. Welcome, and we're so happy you could be here with us. My name is Melissa Longhurst, and I am a theater education major at Brigham Young University. Today, I'm going to be sharing a few tips and tricks on how to direct, act, and just put on a Zoom or online performance. This last semester, I was able to put on a 35-minute show all through Zoom. One of my first tips is be creative and just try new things. I know at the very beginning of my production process, it's a 2-person show, and I was wondering if I was even going to have those 2 people in person. It ended up working out that I had a married couple as the leads. but we had to play around with what the cameras, where they were going to be, and how we were going to change them. We started with just them on Zoom on their camera on their phone. So sometimes we would have like their camera faces showing their face close up and use their phone in the performance. That was kind of an interesting new look because we could see close reactions to their faces or things like that. Then we tried just one camera and changing how they were coming in and out. And eventually we actually got to 2 cameras. So we set up 2 cameras in their room on different sides and then would switch back and forth to get different camera angles for different scenes or different things like that. Along with playing around with multiple cameras in a specific room or getting different angles or positions, you can also play around with different blocking and different just movement that the actors are doing and where the director places them. So we had a whole rehearsal just trying to play around with what different positions we could put the actors in that would tell a unique story. We talked about having people close up or to the side or just like far away, and where on the screen they were or where they came in could really change the story, or kind of just like see what worked, what didn't. Now, let me show you a few screenshots of our rehearsal process and of our show. So here's a few screenshots of what you saw on the camera. You only saw one of these photos at a time, but I just wanted to kind of show you all the different options at once. So these are some of the ones we came up with. There was different angles. There was kind of a view of over someone's shoulder, seeing the other person, like in the top right over here. There was a close up and someone behind. She was kind of writing at the desk and he was behind her. They were talking in their apartment. So these different angles just told and helped kind of engage the audience in different parts of the story. You can also see that a little bit. The background is pretty similar, but there's either a moon up in the top right corner or the bottom left corner. So this shows the background that I had, but those shows the 2 different camera angles as well. So in this bottom left picture, this was a camera from a computer, and then the other one in the top right, you can see, and a few others, is the camera angle from a phone camera. So we switched back and forth to tell that story. Another quick tip is the background and just being intentional with what an audience can see. So we filmed this I was over Zoom, but they set it up in their apartment. So they didn't have a lot of space to work with, but those are just 2 walls of their apartment. And you could kind of see the window behind them, behind one of those curtains, and there was like just a wall and a picture and some different colored walls. So it was kind of distracting when we were doing rehearsals. So I decided, and my scenic designer helped me create these backdrops that tied into our show and just gave it a different feeling and a very specific background that was very intentional. So just remember that anything on screen that shows up, even if it's just like an object on a desk or something, should be very intentional, and you should specifically place those things to just know that the audience will be looking at it and different things like that. All right, my final tip and trick is to find new technology or different ways of telling a story. So sometimes there are a bunch of different technologies that will help maybe change your computer screen, or you can use different Zoom features to spotlight videos. There's a lot of different things that you can do. One thing that I found was helpful for me, could help with transitions or perhaps the end or beginning of the show, is to, instead of trying to share screen every time in between a transition or just go straight to black, I found a way to, I have a second, my phone is in the same Zoom meeting. So let me show you how it works. So on my phone, I'm going to use a digital background. So this is just seeing me on my computer screen. But if you go to more while you're on the Zoom app and you're in a meeting, you go to virtual backgrounds and you can upload different images. So there's just a bunch of different images that I have already uploaded. And then the speaker or someone running your performance can pin the person's video that has their virtual background on. And let me spotlight my video. Then you can see that I'm at the beach. But I could also spotlight the video and have my computer just facing up or cover it, and you can just have this transition to show the location what you're going into during certain times during a transition or something like that. So let me show you. All right, so if you want to use this, maybe pictures like this to change the scenery, if each scene is in a different location, you could show an image like this to, or perhaps if you wanted to use it at the end of the show, I'll just change my virtual background and you could show it being the end and just give a little note to the audience, letting them know the end of the show is happening. Or perhaps if you want to give the audience specific information, maybe tell them information using a graph or different things, you can change the graph or anything like that. So it just can be a helpful way to communicate with the audience or just show a different transition rather than just using a backdrop or a blackout or anything like that. Remember to be creative and just try new things, because that's what it's all about. You got this. Bye.
Thank you, Melissa, for these insightful tips. And now for some literally brilliant advice from Emma Hansen, a lighting designer who designed the lights for a live stream live theater production.
Hi everyone at UTA. My name is Emma Hansen and I was the lighting designer for Hysterical production directed by Pollyanna Act1. I'm a lighting design major at BYU with a minor in Japanese. Today I wanted to share a little bit about our production of Hysterical, some things that we were able to do to create mood and scenes. We used lamps that were adjustable for brightness to help create contrast. And the lamps that we used also had a swivel head on it that we could use to point in different directions, and that was really nice. We were able to use a blue light bulb in the swivel head to create a mood for the scenes that happened at night. And we also used handheld battery-powered candles that the actors could easily turn on and off. Some challenges that we ran into for this production were the actors needing to turn on or change their own lights, which required them to go off screen. And so we had to work with transitions in order for the actors' lighting to actually change for those scenes. And they also had to remember their light cues and where they were in the script because there wasn't a light board operator, and to be able to control everything in their own homes. I'd like to share some tips for how to do lighting for online theater. The first tip is that you can use regular household lamps, flashlights, or even candles, such as battery-powered candles. And you can just use whatever your actors have in the space. My second tip is if you need different colors, you can use different colored light bulbs. Those can be screwed easily into a lamp or a flashlight. Or if you have access to gels, you can tape those over your lamps or flashlights to create different moods for different scenes. My third tip is to play with angles. You can have a lot of fun coming from just one side, coming more from the front, maybe even coming from below, to create some different environments, different feelings for your audience. But if the characters are supposed to be in the same room, I would suggest trying to match the angle of light so that it's coming from the same direction for all of your actors. If you need more control, such as changing between night and day scenes throughout your show, try to limit the amount of natural light in the space for your actors by using blackout curtains or black plastic bags over their windows, because that will give you more control over the brightness in the room. My final tip is, if you are using an off-screen lamp, bring it as close to the camera as possible so that it will light your actor as clearly as possible. Sometimes the cameras that we use don't pick up light very well. They can be kind of grainy, and so having all of your actors bring them lamps as close to them as possible will help to light their faces. Good luck in all of your theater adventures this year. If you have any questions about lighting, my email will be in the credits, and feel free to reach out to me through that email. Goodbye.
Thank you, Emma, for those lighting lessons. We'll next hear from Zach Bright, a theater student who operated the soundboard for a live stream live theater production. He'll be introducing a free yet professional grade sound system.
Hello friends at UTA. My name is Zach Bright, and I was the assistant sound designer and soundboard operator for the production of Hysterical. For the production, we used an online soundboard called QLab. I'm going to include some screenshots of the program QLab so that you can see what it kind of looks like on the inside. QLab is a relatively easy to use software. It can look a little daunting at first, but after using this tutorial video that I'll include below, it'll become a lot easier. Sound design really enhanced this production of the Victorian Gothic Hysterical. The production is a little bit under the horror genre, and so as it includes that, it also includes, you know, some scary winds, some kind of like dark kind of undertone sounds that play throughout. And it was a really fun production to be soundboard operator for, because you almost feel like a character yourself to add in different sounds between characters' lines. And sometimes like a wind that will go underneath the characters' lines the whole time they're talking. The pros and cons of using sound design for a live stream are the pros that you can add a whole new kind of emotional element to your production, and that you get to learn a new software. It's actually pretty entertaining to use, and after a while it becomes a lot easier. Some of the cons are it does take a little bit of time to learn, so you have to invest some time in it. It's way worth it though, and you just have to be ready to adapt on the fly. A lot of the time we were performing and something wouldn't be quite right, and so you'd have to find a quick fix for it in the middle of a performance so that things could go as planned. I think that this program is really fun to work with, and a last tip that I would give to you all in your exploration of it is don't be afraid to get your hands dirty. Don't be afraid to mess around with it and to learn, because honestly, once you do that, it becomes a whole new tool at your disposal. And yeah, it's really fun. So just don't be afraid to use it, and good luck in your productions this spring. I'm really looking forward to see what you guys can do.
Thank you, Zach. In this crazy time of COVID, we can find and form creative connections. My husband, Pat Eiler, is not a theater person, but he works in IT and supports the arts. He helped our production installing and learning to navigate streaming software. Here's a quick overview of how we used the free OBS software from our production's technical designer, Pat Eiler.
Hi, welcome. I hope you're enjoying UTA DramaCon 2021. I'm Pat Eiler. I've been a technical resource and most recently a video board operator for Pollyanna Eiler and her productions at BYU and elsewhere. You can do a lot of things with OBS, from really simple stuff like taking a image and layering video and other media behind it, kind of like this, where I've got a very simple set of houses and I've put that into a video.
It was a dark and stormy night.
can also add text and foreground. You can use multiple videos and move things around as you're doing it. So you might end up with something like this.
Jingle bells, jingle all the way.
Jingle Bells, written and composed by James Lord Pierpont, was the first song to broadcast from outer space. Astronaut Walter M. Schirra Jr. played this on his harmonica while orbiting the North Pole in December 1965.
Jingle bells, jingle all the way. Jingle bells, jingle all the way.
The other astronaut on board, Thomas P. Stafford, reported seeing a UFO flying around the world on a sleigh. Contrary to popular belief, the song, originally titled One Horse Open Sleigh, was first printed in September of 1857 and does not mention any specific holiday.
Jingle bells, jingle all the way.
So you can also use OBS to take actors from a Zoom call, for example, layer them in, and maybe you have to double cast, or maybe you have an actor who can't make it, or something that you just had to shoot at a different time for some other reason, and you can pop in that additional actor, and it's just seamless. You can't tell that things are coming from one stream and another. So the way that we set things up is we had one group that we called the stream team, and the stream team was made up of our soundboard operator running QLab, and they shared the audio from QLab instead of their mic into the Zoom meeting. Then we had a bunch of actors. The actors obviously are sharing video and audio into our Zoom meeting. As the OBS operator, I was also sitting on that Zoom meeting. Generally, I wasn't saying anything. I was just taking the video and audio and running it into OBS. So that's the stream team. Once we ran that video through OBS, doing all of the little changes that I made, I used OBS to stream it live on a private YouTube channel. We never published the link. We just gave it to the stage manager and a couple of other people who needed it. They took that YouTube stream, and the stage manager shared it into our second group that we called the Zoom Room. Now, they took the video and audio that they got from YouTube, shared it into Zoom. Once it was being broadcast in Zoom, if it was a live performance, we could have the audience there. If it was a rehearsal, we would definitely have our crew there. So the audience, the crew, the stage manager all together on this second Zoom channel was our crew view. So when you're looking at OBS, it can be kind of confusing. There are a lot of things going on, but this screen is the screen that you're actually going to be streaming from or broadcasting from. Down here, you've got your different scenes, so I can move back and forth between different scenes of things that I'm working on. Here, I have my sources. I have my Scarecrow source that I'm working with. I have the Tin Man. I have all of these different sources, including my background, and I can move those around. I can see how much noise anything is making, and whether or not it's muted or live based on my mixer. This is also where I can mute something that's currently running or unmute it. So that I've got it there. Finally, we've got a bunch of controls here that we can go to. When we're ready to start streaming, we can start streaming. We can record a copy of it locally. We can go to studio mode, which lets you make changes. Here is where you're making changes. This is what you're actually doing live. So if I wanted to go in and make changes to the next scene that was coming up because a actor's dropped off or something, I can do that. And then I turn studio mode off. Within the settings, takes a second to come up. There we go. I can work on general settings, streaming settings. The one that I use a lot of are hotkeys. If I come down to my rainbow, you see I have these move items down here. Those are groups that I've created. Each of those has a hotkey to show or turn off pieces that are inside it. So Glinda, I can just completely hide based on the hotkeys. If I hit the escape, she goes away. I hit escape again, she comes back. You can move people around. I've got my Scarecrow actor here. I can crop it by holding down the Alt key and moving in, moving up, moving in to create a nice little square like these. Grab at one of the corners and resize it so that I'm looking at the same size. From here. And I'm going to put a bubble around the Scarecrow, so let's move that into the right position. Once that's in the right position, my Scarecrow and my bubble are both inside this group. So I can have the whole group, and once I have it as a group, it all moves together. Although you might want to move some things, I want to be able to move this group. It can be very frustrating when you accidentally grab the wrong piece and you start moving the background or something else. One thing that you can do to avoid that is right here where I've got the rainbow stage, which is my background, there's a lock icon. I can hit the lock icon. Now it's locked, unlike the other groups. Now I can't move this anymore. So even if I don't grab her necessarily, I at least don't grab the background and move that. One thing that you can do in OBS as you work with your actor is understand what the frame of their scene is. One of the actors that we dealt with had a closet right next to where he was shooting. And that was great because he could duck into the closet when he was walking off scene. But if his camera was set wrong, it would mean that he would actually still be visible. You can see him here speaking on stage and he steps away, but if I move off, there's his closet. Hey, thanks for following along as we've talked about OBS. This was just a really high-level overview. We have links to a couple of tutorials in the materials that come along with this class. Please take a look at those if you need more information. And if you have other questions, you can reach out to me via email. My contact information is in the credits for this course. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Pat. If it wasn't for your online D&D gaming experience and technical know-how and patience, our live-streamed live theater would not have turned out the way it did. I don't think there's enough time in 30 minutes to thank you for 30 years of support in my theatrical endeavors. But thank you, thank you, thank you. In closing, remember the challenge: at least take two and give two. I'd like to thank all of the teachers and performers and my family who've taught me more than two ideas while live streaming live theater. And now that you've watched it, that makes at least one person I've shared these ideas with. Now I need to go find another theater teacher or student to give them ideas I've learned from other classes at UTA DramaCon 2021. There are a variety of ways and benefits to performing online, but one benefit to planning a performance via an online platform from the start is that no matter what, the show can still go on online. Be sure to catch the other half of this course, Act 2, Performance Tips and Tricks. All URLs, contact info, and more tips and tricks are available on my website, Pollyanna.works. Thank you. Bye.